Okay. Um, I'm so thrilled to hear all your answers, and it brings me to another question I had, although it sort of makes me think of a different spin on it, which is, does poetry of witness always have to engage with gruesomeness and with historical trauma? Because I'm thinking of your anthology, Black Nature, which is a beautiful anthology that I have, and this collecting of Black voices throughout a century or two of writing that are engaging maybe in a world that we simply don't often place Black voices in, right? Like, that's white people shit kind of stuff. Like, Black people don't go camping, or Black people don't farm, or Black people don't whatever. And we can see in this anthology that this is, historically, there's obviously, just as people have huge ties to the landscape. So does poetry of witness always have to be about trauma?
I think you've answered your question, but I'll expand my question. I'll expand upon that answer. Witnessing is not always about trauma. We very frequently speak about witnessing, I witnessed that car accident. You don't say, I witnessed everybody moving peacefully and easily and abiding the rule of law through that intersection, right? You simply witness that intersection at the moment where there's a trauma, where there's an accident, where there's an event to speak of. And very frequently the event we're speaking of is an event where there is some sort of harm done to property or person. That being said, it is quite amazing to walk outside and witness a blue sky, right? It is particularly sometimes amazing to walk outside in a space that is very frequently in the center of tumult, to walk outside and witness a blue sky. And so in those moments where our expectations are for some kind of trauma, violence, depravity, awfulness, to witness beauty and love and wonder and grace, that's really important also. It's really important, right? Like, I'm not underplaying this. I'm not trying to make this like a permission to just go off and write about pretty things and not ever write about horror. Part of what I'm saying is it's impossible to really actually empathetically, compassionately, and correctly write about anybody's life without finding the spaces where they find peace, rest, joy, comfort. Like, you can't witness true humanity without witnessing the entire breadth of that spirit. And so that is just so important, right? If we can't find places where our subjects, the focus of our work, would find or could find joy and peace and some sort of hope, then I think we're really doing a disservice.
I'm actually thinking of Daisy Cutter, which is a poem that does exactly what we're talking about, which is juxtaposes some of the most beautiful flowers that the speaker, or you, want to cut down. Do you mind if I read just a few lines?
Sure.
I want the black iris with their sabered blooms. I want the flamethrowers, the peonies, the sunflowers. I will cut down the beautiful ones and let their nectared sweetness bleed into the careless air. This is not the world I'd hoped it could be. It is horrible the way we carry on. And at the end again, this is the world we have arranged. It is horrible the way we carry on, juxtaposing those flowers that are going to be cut down with widely distributed damage from shrapnel and bombs. So a question that came to me is, once you've become a witness, once you've become someone who is empathetic and knowledgeable enough to witness historical trauma, can you ever see beauty without experiencing also its history or the trauma that might threaten it?
This is a complicated question having to do with what it is to see the world, and turn back now. If this is scary, right? Because once you really start to look, once you really start to pay attention to the ways that everything is interconnected and interrelated, that history never is over. The writer William Faulkner used to say the past isn't over, it's not even past, right? Like, it's just like nothing is done. Once you start to realize that those flowers are really lovely that you buy in the flower stand, and yet for them to be there at that season, there's probably a lot of people living with perpetual pesticides, and like just like really horrible things are happening to human beings to get those off-season flowers to you at a time. And you're right, it makes it really hard. It makes it really hard to sort of ever be completely at peace. And yet, I don't, for myself, want the reverse, right? I don't want to sort of walk through a world where I'm not aware of the ways that we're all connected. And so the poetry that I write then becomes aware of that, becomes aware of the fact that even in the moments that I am reaping the benefits of these kind of beautiful, wonderful things in the world, there are prices to be paid, and they're not always being paid by me, and I want to be conscious of that, right? I want to be honoring. I know, it's sort of boring. There was a dog in the background snoring through my talk, because that was a long and complicated answer to that question.
It's a beautiful answer.
But I feel like it also means that my highs are much higher, right? Like the moments where I really like, this is just purely beautiful, means I really notice it, and I'm excited by it, by things that are real in their wonder.
Yeah, this reminds me of a lot of thoughts about how developing as a writer, developing as a poet particularly, is really the same process as developing as a human in the world.
As a poet, as a thinker in general, and as a human, but not everybody makes these developments, right? It was about a year ago I went and talked at a community college, and this kid was just like, he was really distraught. He was asking these same kind of questions, like, I see the world differently than I used to see it, and now it's full of all these questions, and it's scary, and it's challenging, and it's troubling, and but I don't want to go back, right? Because once those realities have been revealed to you, you can't not see them, right? But that's what thinking is. Thinking is about stretching your capacity further each time. And once you've done that stretching, you can't re-shrink without the evidence of that stretching being there.
Wonderful.